Hello, Ka.
Hello, Mirella, and thanks for inviting me.
You are so very welcome, Ka. I'm so happy to have you here today. So I have a question to start with. You will help us understand the rules and market forces that drive corporate profits, right?
Yes.
So, in a world designed to keep us addicted, as I just mentioned in my introduction, to the next click, how do we build systems that actually demands accountability, Ka? Thank you.
Well, there is quite a story to that. So I've made a presentation. I'll just share my screen.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Is it this one? Yes, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna let you to your presentation. Okay, so see you later on, Ka.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. There's quite a lot to this story, but I have these supporting slides. We can also answer questions in the questions and answer section afterwards. After my presentation, we'll hear Mark. After that, we'll hear Thorsten, and then we still have time for the questions and answers. And you will get the presentations in the goodie bags afterwards. AI nowadays is really an infrastructure. I mean, in the early days, ChatGPT was launched in the end of 2022. It was interesting, it was fascinating, it was also buggy, and it was not always that predictable. It still isn't always, but it has by now been built into so many processes, so many companies, so many departments. So it is really by now mission critical. For my part, as an IT consultant, an IT trainer, I meet it in the financial sector, I meet it in the healthcare, I meet it in public administration, and so many other lines of business. And I can see so many of these lines of business where they really nowadays depend on this, at least as part of the toolbox. It is only part of the toolbox. So it is crucial that we understand what it's all about. And it's really, there are pros and cons, and there's a lot to consider. But then again, we have time to dig in. Let's start out from what is the economy behind this, because it's quite a large number. In the left-hand side, we can see the annual value potential, at least as estimated by McKinsey, and these are annual numbers, and these are dollars, so it is huge numbers. It is really lifting the economy, in part by increasing productivity, in part by doing what was otherwise hard to do, in part by inventing new systems, new ways of working. And it has the potential, and we already see early signs of that, for boosting actually the global GDP. So we will get more wealthy because the machines can help us do what people would otherwise, at least in part, do, and then people can do what is even more valuable. At this point, it has not created unemployment, but it has created more value. Of course, there are some who will get stuck in this, and there are some who will have to rethink their job positions. But most of all, it is the potential of getting to something even more valuable, creating an even better income for you. And part of it is about productivity. But it is handled quite differently in different areas of the world. These are the three main areas of AI. Of course, the world is bigger than this, but most other countries are really connected to one of these three areas. I will not present it in every word, it's already on the slide, but we can really see how the market-driven approach in US is quite different from the state-driven in China, and then again quite different from the rights-driven in the EU. For my part, I live in Denmark. Most of my work is done in Denmark, so I am an EU citizen, which means that the regulations are also for me. And I'm actually quite happy that there are these regulations, because it is new technology. It is very powerful technology. It can be used. It can also be misused, and I hope we will manage to put guardrails on at least some of the potential misuse situations. There's much more to the story, and there are links in the goodie bag that you will get after this live session telling much more about these regulations. It is also a market with huge investments. Nowadays, if a company is to make a new frontier model, that could be GPT-5 and the coming GPT-6 from OpenAI, it could be the next version of Gemini from Google, it could be the next version of Claude from Anthropic. The cost nowadays is, in round numbers, $1 billion. And the reason why it is so expensive is that they really crawl the entire internet. They spin off these data centers. They collect all the data available. Some of it is not publicly available. In the case of Google, they own YouTube, so they can see both what is publicly available, but also what is not publicly available. The same goes for their access to Gmail and Google Maps and whatever other services they have. So it's really also about the size of the data pools. So they spin these servers up, and they crunch those data for months. It is often 2 months, even 3 months, sometimes even longer, that these CPUs or GPUs, it is really run at full capacity in order to understand and structure the data. And from that point, you will have a good statistical model. And from that point, you should fine-tune it and really adjust the behavior. We can see that nowadays the GPT-5 model from OpenAI is no longer new, and we have seen both the 5.1, the 5.2, the 5.3, and currently the 5.4. So those are not entirely new models. Those are just refinements of the existing GPT-5 model. Similar patterns can be seen at Google and Anthropic and other players, but those are the big ones. And I don't mention Microsoft because Microsoft do have their own AI department, but a big portion of what they run is really the model from OpenAI, the GPT-5 model, and they recently also made business with Anthropic using the Claude model, which is the best one for coding. So it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy to create an entirely new model. Once the model is up and running, they have improved the efficiency. It is still a lot of power used, especially if you want to create an image or video, because there is a lot of compute to that. But if it's a simple question, it isn't really all that much compute intensive by now, because they have improved a lot. You will often, as a company, either rent a platform that could be the Copilot from Microsoft, that could be the Gemini from Google, it could be the ChatGPT from OpenAI, it could also be other models from other companies, but those are the big ones. But it is also possible to build your own one. You will usually not build it from scratch. You'll really download an open source models, and there are plenty of those out there, both from the big players and from the smaller players. You can install it on your own server. You can then do your own fine-tuning, and you can make sure that it's not publicly available on the web. And in the organizations that I serve, I see that many rent standardized platforms. It's easy to get up and running. It's not all that expensive, but with the most sensitive data, they will also build proprietary systems, especially in the healthcare systems or in public administration or in finance. Well, there are data that you don't want to risk putting in a data center of some company, and you really don't know exactly how they will use it afterwards. They do have their terms and they do promise to protect it, and I hope we can trust those terms. But then again, once it is run by the internet services, there are also a lot of touch points on the way to the data center. And in the case of American systems, there are also American regulations giving the administration access to that data if they think that they have a need for it. So it is really also about geopolitics. I know that Mark will talk much more about it in his presentation afterwards. I've made a case study just to be a little more specific and maybe get down to a slightly smaller scale, because the numbers before for training a new model for the energy consumption and so on worldwide are huge numbers, and they're really hard to understand, at least from my perspective. So these are Danish numbers. Denmark is already a very digital country. It is a country with a high level of trust, and I hope that besides trusting other people, that we can also trust services. Some are more trustworthy than others, but we will select what serves us the best. I see in the Danish professional market, many choose Microsoft. There is a long history of Microsoft being strong in Denmark. They have bought Danish companies. They have a fairly big office in Denmark, so you can really go to their office and talk to employees, and that is different for many of the other tech companies. We also have in Denmark a high percentage of high-speed broadband connections, which are relevant for running these services. But it's still about the data. And you can ask questions which have no confidentiality to it. Well, you should be good. But there are data that do contain confidential parts to it, and then you should really find your way. So I've made this sketch. You will usually start out from looking into the private company data, and you might not present those data to those models at all. That might be where you don't use AI at all, or where you build your own system, especially if you are a big organization, because of course there is a cost to that, there is a complexity to that. There will be tasks that can be handled by rented services from Microsoft or Google or OpenAI or even other companies. And in those cases, you can use those global foundational models that are so expensive to train. But you should really be aware of your intellectual property. You should be very aware of how they handle these data. Also, because if they hallucinate, and these systems will hallucinate to a certain extent, Mark will tell more about it, and Thorsten will tell more about it later on. Well, you risk that your data is used and presented in a way that is not how you would process it if you were choosing all on your own. So there's a lot to consider in this area. So I suggest that you check your vendor. I will not read out every word on this slide aloud. You can read it for yourself. These slides will also be sent afterwards, and I also have prepared a checklist that you can use in a normal Word document that is part of the goodie bag that will be sent afterwards. Because it is really, how are they collecting data? who owns that data afterwards, and a lot of other questions. For my part, nowadays, I mainly do AI. Before it really took speed, I was doing a lot of data analysis, Excel and Power BI and that sort of systems. And I could see in that situation that sometimes you had outdated data, or you had data containing errors, or there were missing data. And I saw that if it was related to media and marketing, many would use Google services or services from Meta, Facebook, Instagram, that sort of services. And the service terms from Google or from Meta, in very, very short and slightly characterized, is really that they own the data. As soon as you have put some text, it's their property. As soon as you have put a picture, it's their property, and they can use it for whatever they want. In reality, they don't start selling your data because they would be so much in trouble, and customers would leave them. But there were the Cambridge Analytica scandal with Meta back in the day. So there is really a risk that the data that you think were yours is now not really yours any longer. But then again, if you pay a good vendor, you're much better off than if you use a free service, because if you don't pay with money, well, you'll probably pay with your data instead. So I suggest that you ask these 3 questions. It is good that you have data, and it is especially good if you own your own data. And with relevant services and with relevant terms, well, you're good. I see many using Microsoft, but of course there can be reasons for choosing other providers. For my own part, I mainly use Microsoft nowadays for business purposes. I mainly use Google for private purposes. I also have ChatGPT from OpenAI, and I really have currently paid subscriptions to 15 different services. I also have to Adobe and some specialized services for legal stuff and for search optimization and for a lot of other purposes. And I have logins to even more services. So I really try to test out different services, and I can see pros and cons to all of them. And if you get relevant answers to these questions, if you really do your homework, well, I guess you're well off. So the key takeaways from my part of this live session is that you should see this as an infrastructure. It's not only a technical service. It is definitely a technical service, but it has connections also to people, to business processes, to how companies work together, to how they interact with other countries, especially the big ones. And as there are these geopolitical realities, well, you'd better make sure that you manage in that. I can see that the US is still the biggest player in this market. China is catching up very fast. For my own part, I'm not all that tempted by the Chinese services, but I can be fascinated. And you should really make sure that the trust that is hopefully there from the start can really also be preserved while using these services. And it doesn't come easy. There is homework to do. So when my presentation is over in a minute, and when it's time to give the talk back to Mirella and afterwards to Mark, I will at least advise you to think of these questions. And when you receive the goodie bag afterwards, you will have access to the vendor scorecard. You will have access to a curated source list. You will have the hallucination checklist that is made by Mark. I've also made one for filmmaking that is mainly by demand before this event. It's not my main topic. I will just very briefly show the 2 first documents, but only briefly, because you will receive them afterwards. The vendor systems scorecard is here. You really have some questions. You rate them from 1 to 5. You count the total score, and based on that total score, well, you have a better fundament for making your decision. Regarding the other document, I have collected links to the EU Artificial Intelligence Act, also to the standard AI index report. It's quite extensive, to other good sources for additional knowledge. And I think that was my 20 minutes. So, and we will catch up later with the questions and answers. So, well, back to you, Mirella.
Thank you so very much, Kaare. Well, now let's go to the second guest of today's event, which is Mark. He will show us how to use AI to lead better without losing our own human judgment. So let's welcome to Mark. Hello, Mark. Welcome.
Hey, great to be here.
Yeah, so lovely to have you here as well. Mark, in the world of fast AI, how can leaders use these tools as a thinking partner to stay ahead without losing their own critical judgment? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll elaborate in my presentation in a second. I just like to start off by saying that exact tension between speed and judgment is exactly what I think we need to talk about more honestly. The leaders I worry about are not the ones who are too slow to adapt AI. They're the ones who start to confuse AI's output with their own thinking. My starting point for this is that AI is generally a useful as a thinking partner, but only if you stay the author of your own thoughts. You can use it to generate options, to stress test an argument, to challenge your own assumptions. And that's powerful. But the moment you let it generate the conclusion and you just sign off on it, you've outsourced the most important part of your job. And I think the irony here is that in a world where everyone has access to the same AI tools, human judgment doesn't become less valuable. It becomes more valuable because the competitive advantage is no longer who has the fastest tool. It's who has the clearest thinking about what to do with it.
Yeah, true.
So my short answer to your question is treat AI like a very well-read colleague who has never had consequences for being wrong. Listen to it, challenge it, but never let it get the last word in the conversation. So let's see if the technology will allow me to share the presentation. Let's find out.
I think it's this one, isn't it?
It is.
A helping hand.
Fine, let's just get back to the start.
Okay, I'm going to let you to your presentation. See you later.
Right. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start with a small observation, not a claim, just an observation. Every time a new AI tool launches, the conversation focuses on what it can do, how fast it writes, how much it knows, how efficiently it performs. But I think the more interesting question is a different one. What does AI do to the way we think? That's what I want to explore with you today. Not what AI can do for leaders, but what it might be doing to leadership itself. Let me be direct about what I think the real risk of AI actually is. Now that AI will take over leadership, I don't think that's the danger, at least not in the near term. The risk is something more subtle and far more human. The risk is that leaders voluntarily surrender too much of their judgment because AI makes it so easy to. When something is faster and more convenient and sounds authoritative, we tend to trust it. That's not a weakness, it's just human nature. But in leadership, judgment is not a luxury, it's actually the job. So the question I keep coming back to is, how do we use AI to sharpen our judgment rather than slowly replace it? Let's start with the common belief, something you hear almost every day, that AI saves time. Well, here's what I actually see. AI does free up time, but that time almost immediately fills up with new tasks, more emails, more output, more versions. We don't save time, we produce more. Secondly, faster is not better. A faster answer is not the same as a better decision. Speed is not quality. We can now generate 10 mediocre options in the time it used to take to think through one good one. And thirdly, and this is the one I found most important, AI removes friction, but some friction is healthy. Friction is often where reflection actually happens. The struggle to articulate a problem clearly, the discomfort of sitting with uncertainty, the work of pushing back on your own first instinct. That's not inefficiency, that's thinking. This is, if I had to put it into one sentence, what I actually believe. AI can make leaders faster, but also worse, if they lose the friction in their thinking. I want to be clear, this is not an anti-AI argument. AI is generally powerful. It belongs in our work. But we also need to be honest about the real risks, that the very ease of AI creates a temptation to skip the hard parts of thinking. And the hard parts are often where good leadership actually lives. So, let me offer you a framework that I think is practically useful. I call it the 3 levels of AI use. The first level is AI as an assistant. This is sort of the safe zone. This is where you use it for drafting, summarizing, structuring, first versions, research leads. You can use AI freely in this zone. This is where it genuinely saves time without compromising your judgment. The second level is AI as a thinking partner. This is sort of more active territory. You use AI to challenge your own reasoning, to find blind spots, generate counter arguments, simulate objections. This is powerful, but it requires you to stay in the driver's seat. And finally, the third level, AI as a replacement for judgment. This is the danger zone. This is where you have to be aware. When AI is allowed to conclude alone on strategy, on people, on risk, without genuine human review, when you hand over accountability without realizing it. So use AI to generate options, not conclusions. That's the principle. Options are AI territory. This is what it's good at. This is where it lives. Conclusions is your territory. And here, I'd like to introduce a term called cognitive outsourcing. We talk a lot about outsourcing tasks to AI, but I actually think that something much more subtle is happening. We're outsourcing articulation, the work of finding the right words for a complex thought. We're outsourcing evaluation, the effort of actually judging whether something is good. And sometimes we outsource the resistance itself. And then it's important to remember that it's the resistance that so often creates insights. Think about the last time you struggled to write something difficult, a hard message, a strategic decision you weren't sure about. The very act of wrestling with it, that wasn't a waste of time. That was where your thinking actually happened. When we hand over that discomfort to AI, we lose something real. Let me make this a bit more present or concrete with a demonstration of sorts. About AI hallucinations, when the model sounds right, but isn't really. Kaare talked a bit about this. A generative AI model produces text that is fluent. It sounds very authoritative and it sounds very plausible. But in many cases, you'll find that it's actually wrong because it doesn't distinguish between the data it's been trained on and the data it generates. It has no concept of truth, only of pattern completion. So it'll come up with fake citations from scientific papers, wrong statistics, false facts, and it'll be confident in what it says. It doesn't distinguish. And I'd like to give you some tools to deal with that. So I've set up a way that you can prompt your way to a better accuracy in your answers. One example of a prompt could be, what are the key statistics on AI adaptation in European business? It's a very open prompt. It doesn't specify, and it doesn't make any demands on the system to actually produce the documentation. A much stronger prompt would be, list only statistics that you are certain exist with source and year. If you are unsure of a figure, say so explicitly. And then I put up four points you can actually use for this. Ask for some sources explicitly, either in the prompt or you could do it afterwards. Cite the source for each claim. And then afterwards, you have to verify that the sources are correct. You can invite uncertainty. If you don't know, say so. Put this in your prompt. You sort of have to allow the model to be uncertain and to say it is uncertain. Request a step-by-step reasoning. Chain of thought prompting reduces the confident leaps to wrong conclusions. Again, it allows for uncertainty. And the last point is to ask it to argue against itself. So it actually debates the arguments that it uses. You will get this practical technique in the goodie bag. And not least in the form of this, I've tried to put up a checklist about when can you trust the output that you get. So first of all, does it cite the sources? Well, if it does, verify at least 2 independently, preferably verify all of them. If it doesn't, just ask it to do it. If specific numbers or dates are mentioned in the output, then you need to be aware, because this is one point where hallucinations often occur. Does it sound unusually certain in the answer? Is the tone very confident? And that's not always a sign of accuracy. Use this as an indicator of where it could go wrong. Does it reference named people or organizations? Another point of danger. Check each one. Is the answer in your area of expertise? If yes, does the answer actually match what you know? Do you recognize that this is actually true? And if not, you will be able to tell if there are errors. But if this isn't your area of expertise, you have to be very carefully and you have to verify. And the last point I invite you to check up on is, would a wrong answer here carry real consequences? And here I return to the point that Kaare also made, that AI is not a tool, it's actually infrastructure. Who owns the data? Sort of the same points that Kaare made. You need to ask yourself as leaders, who owns the data? What data do you give access to? And who owns it afterwards? What lock-in are you creating? Are you building on a foundation that you control, or are you renting infrastructure so that you are no longer in control? And finally, can you explain the decisions? Responsible leadership requires that you can actually take responsibility for the decisions that you've made. But I don't want to leave you with a picture of AI as pure risk. That would be wrong, and it would miss the real point. And here is the paradox that I find generally interesting. The easier it becomes to generate texts, analysis, and proposals, the more valuable the ability to judge what is actually relevant, true, wise, and responsible. When everyone can produce output instantly, the differentiator is not production capacity, it's judgment. It's the willingness to say clearly and accountably that something is not good enough. That is a deeply human competence, and it becomes more valuable, not less, in a world flooded with AI-generated content. So, as we're coming towards the end of my segment, I'd like to leave you with 3 concrete rules, things you can actually use. Rule 1, use AI to expand thinking, not shortcut it. Treat it as an amplifier, not a bypass around the hard work of reflection. Never let AI conclude alone on strategy, people, and risk. The final call is yours. That's not just good practice, it's accountability. And finally, rule 3, don't just measure efficiency, measure quality, dependency, and accountability. Ask who owns the data. What lock-in am I creating? Can I explain this decision? The 3 questions from before. So I'd like to leave you with a question, the one that I think actually matters. The crucial question is not whether AI can think for us. It's whether we stop thinking for ourselves because it's become too easy not to. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Mark. It was really, really very interesting.
Great. I thought it was, yes.
Okay, then let's go to our third guest, which is Thorsten. Thorsten will help us understand how these changes affect our trust and how we truly feel. So let's welcome Thorsten. Here we are. Hello, hello. Welcome, Thorsten.
Well, thank you for me to being here.
Thank you so very
I-
much for accepting my invitation. So lovely. Thank you. I really appreciate it very much.
First, I admire my colleagues' English. My English ain't so good again. I speak better psychology than English, but bear over me. While I search for words, so hang in there. I try to give my best.
I'm sure you will, and I'm sure that also people will truly understand and they will be patient enough to hear you out what you have to say. So don't worry about it. Just
and if they don't, if they don't understand me, I have this all in the extra materials.
Yeah, of course, exactly. They will have everything if they will sign up, register to this event on the website that I have actually at the beginning. I have shared the QR code. They also have the link in the comments, guys. Sign up or register to our website so you can actually get all those tools, ideas, articles, even the first chapter of Mark's book. All this for free, so just sign up, because otherwise you will miss everything out, so you will not receive it, you will not have it. Thank you. So I'm gonna let you, Thorsten, to your presentation now. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. I must see what I can do here. Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. Technician. I'm a psychologist, not a technician. Yeah. Oh, that is. Now, what are you seeing here? Well, AI is not only about speed, you know that. And AI is not only about efficiency at all. And it changes us in ways we can't imagine yet, but we are working on it. AI is changing the way that we notice things around us, and it changes the things that we are reacting to, and this, of course, what we react to is also if we trust the things we see and perception and the perception of it. When those things change around us, it also changes regulation in us, so we can get out of focus. So for me, the real issue is not what AI can do. The issue is, for me, is what AI does to us as humans, because the design of the AI thinks everybody reacts the same, but we are the AI meets the person, not the human species. And the person can be like me, have PTSD, or someone have ADHD and something, but I come to it later on. Yes, how to go. Oh yes. I have some technical. My buttons don't work. Oh. I'm sorry. I don't know why it don't work. Well, the trust on this system isn't good. No, I use too much time for this. Maybe I can do it. So, yes. I'll try again. One moment, please.
Is everything okay?
I got some technical issues here. Well, this happens.
Yes, exactly. Okay, let's see if it's this one. Is it?
Yeah, I think I know I have it. It's the first time for me, you know?
Yes, of course. I forgive you.
Yeah.
You are forgiven.
I hope we can see what's going on here. Well, John Mark has been over it. It's about the trust. You all see it out in the social media and everywhere else. It's yeah, we live in a time of deepfakes with synthetic voices, with narrative manipulations. So somebody want to move you to this side or to the other side to think to have your opinion about something. Well, let's make it harder to know it's real if what you are seeing and what you are hearing and what you are meant to think. And if people don't know what's real, they don't feel safe. What's happening around me, you know, and this matters. This matters very much because it's not only social. The trust is also in your body. It's biology. So it affects the nervous system, and this is a variety. It feels unstable. The body don't relax, you know. So this is why the trust of what you're seeing can go in your body, and it's reacting to and say this ain't truth. This is not me. It don't resonate. Yeah. So now we get again the same problems.
Are you using your mouse right now, Thorsten, or
Yeah,
just?
I don't know what I'm doing here. Well, you'll have to laugh a little bit around it.
Yes, of course.
Next time it's better.
Definitely not crying.
I need to get this. I don't know.
Should I have a proposal? Since Kaare has your presentation, should Kaare share your presentation and you can talk about it, Thorsten?
Yes, and I can say next one, please.
Yeah.
We'll do it that way. I'll just a second, then I'll show it.
Is it this one? No, but this is Thorsten.
I have it in a minute. I'm just opening it now.
Okay.
Well, I must ask AI how to do it. Write a prompt or something. Yeah.
Right. So I will share the screen just a second. And you just tell me when to go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Yes, slide number 3, please. Yeah. Now it's on. Hi, Kaare. Well, what have I write here in my words? Yes, this is the slide number 3. The filtered feeds, it's shape what we're seeing, emotional and I don't know. What does it mean? Amplification shapes what feels urgent. Attention hijacking shapes what we capture in the mind. This is the first. So AI does not only show us content, it also shapes perception. What I'm talking about before, the perception. And the perception matters because what we are seeing again and again starts to feel important, normal, and true. But is it true? How can we see if it's true? How can we find out if it's true? That what shapes the attention also shapes our lives in that matter. So the attention, the hijacking, what are you calling the clickbaits? So it talks to your inner emotions with the clickbaits. Yes. Next slide, please. Now again, the nervous system respond in any case. Some have a lower moral than others, and feel somebody have a high sensitive personality, and it depends on how you work with the AI. Again, it's different from person to person. Nobody is the same, so we have to make systems who know the user in any way, not overtake the user, but know the user, how it thinks, and the master, Münster, on Danish. Yes. Yeah. Well, when I see things on the internet, my body always, my nervous system always react to something, and then I look, what is this? Is this right? Is this wrong? What does it mean for me? And do I need to think about it? Is it does it matter? But this is the uncertainty of whether intensity, what you react to emotionally, it goes to an overload. and you can't stay in there very long before you get like burnouts, depression in any way. If you use tools or today not on the right way. Let's take slide 5. Yeah, what is real? What is real? What is relevant? What is mine? And what can I trust? Kaare was over it, and Mark II. Now I'm here saying the same thing. So it have something to do with it. Well, in any case, these are not small questions. That does matter. If they appear once, it's manageable. If they appear all the time, those questions, it's going to be stressful. It's going to overload your nervous system. You ain't a machine, you are human. I don't know if this stage in development we can somebody talk about the singularity. I think it's more about where the human meets its borders, is what it can do as a human, what it can bear. The machine ain't a human. It goes along as a train, a trigger train, who triggers everything in you. It shows you what you are doing wrong. It shows you it shows your shadow sides, what you are lying about yourself. No, it's not everybody who can manage this, and they can get some AI fatigue out of this, you know, and this further away leads to resist the development, to be against AI, because it has destroyed one's self picture. Yeah, slide number 6, please. Well, not everyone experiences the same way. I told about it before. Some people have higher sensitivity. Some are neurodivergent. I hope I spell it on, pronounce it well. Some have cognitive vulnerability. Some simply register more, like 10 times more than other people's. So the same in AI environment can affect people very differently. One person may experience as useful, another may experience as an overload, like I talked about before. Because the design often assumes that all users affect the same way, and it doesn't affect the same way. Yes, the same system does not feel the same nervous system in everybody, in every person. Yeah, I think it's enough for this slide. Let's take the slide number 7. Now, this Mark was into too, and I think this is we're trying to yeah. Well, it can become an awareness assistant, as you can see. You can simply ask questions like, what tone is this text? What biases are in this reasoning? And can you rewrite what I wrote here in a common tone? Somebody very angry sometimes, and they just do this and better tone. Yeah. The eye becomes less a machine for speed and more a mirror for awareness. If everybody makes it faster, more, the quality, the precision goes down the hill, and this is all this matters too. Yeah. So the AI can reduce confusion. It can increase clarity and help people slow down and notice. Use well, AI can support reflection instead, replacing it. So it's very good. It's in I have tried to put it all together in a prompt you can get in the extra material. Yes, slide 8, please. Well, this is the last slide for me. It's very easy. It's always it's about questions. It's about what AI do to us. What does it do to our trust? What does it do to our attention? What does it do to regulation? What does it do to our sense of reality? Those questions are important. Because that's why awareness, our awareness about this must come before the blind use of AI. It's not good to use AI blind use, because without awareness, power becomes influence becomes confusion, and confusion becomes stress. It's not good. So for me, the most important question is not only capability, it's a human impact. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now let's get together, all of us. Okay. Just 1 second. Hello again. Good job, Thorsten.
I have two screens. So you used to work with one screen.
It was a great presentation and a good teamwork.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to remind to all of you guys who are watching today that make sure to sign up on our website of today's event. Only those who actually subscribe to that website will get the full presentation of all 3 specialists delivered straight to their inbox. Don't miss your chance to keep these expert insights forever. Moreover, you will have the opportunity to download the reset protocol as well, a specific cognitive framework to regain clarity and keep your focus during digital noise, and the AI resource guide as well, a toolkit curated by me and the guest specialist. So you can use this QR code shown on the screen, and you also have the direct link into the comments section. So feel free to use it anytime. Yeah, I think now we can go. I can hear an echo. Why? That's so weird. Yeah. I think we can go to the Q&A section. Just 1 second.
Yeah, and I think by default we should mute our microphones if we're not talking. Then we should avoid that echo.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why is that happening, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, so we are at the Q&A section. So let's start with the first one, which we received a question from Kim Meyer. I hope I pronounce it correctly. I apologize. I don't do it on purpose. So since the message was in Danish, I have translated. I'm going to translate it in English, of course. It might sound like this. So Kim Meyer says, how do we make AI a real help for ordinary people in everyday life so that that technology does not become a new barrier with difficult technical language and requirements for technical knowledge, but instead a tool that is safe, understandable, and human? And I think this is for Mark.
Yeah, let me just unmute for a second there. I think that's a very interesting question, and it's sort of two different questions. How do we make sure that the technology is accessible and we're able to use it even if we're not that tech savvy? And I think the answer to that is sort of solving itself. The technology is becoming more user friendly every day, so that will not be that much of a problem. The problem is actually the trust and the literacy, as we talked about. It turns into sort of if we outsource our decision making and so on, it will along the way erode our judgment and in a sense our freedom to think. And that's a much more difficult thing to combat. We've talked a bit about this, about how we do it, how we use the technology as a partner and not as a solution in itself, and we keep our own ability to think, so to speak. So how do we make AI safe? Is really by demanding it, both by making an effort ourselves in order to preserve our way of thinking, but also by demanding of the people who make it that this is the kind of technology that we want. We have to demand it from the people who built it. We also have to demand it from the people who regulate it, who set the rules, and not least from the people who choose to deploy the technology.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so very much, Mark. From the same person, again, Kim Meyer, he has a second question. He asked, and how do we also avoid that the use of AI leads to dependence, loss of judgment, less control over our own data, and a quiet erosion of some of our freedom? I think this might be for Kaare.
Yes, it is really a dilemma because the case is I know Kim. He's a great guy, and he's very curious about these tools. He benefits a lot from these tools, and I can see that it is very helpful for him that he can speak directly to the tools. He can point the camera in a direction, and it will understand what it's all about. But of course, it takes technology, and it takes relevant subscriptions, and there are the considerations about data. In this specific situation, as I also have an ongoing dialogue with Kim, he has chosen in some situations to upgrade his subscriptions, both to get relevant capacity and to get relevant functionality. And it is, well, about navigating and having the next step. So I can see that we can benefit a lot from these well, let's start by calling them then questions and answers machines, but it's really still about navigating, and it's still about having people around in order to help you navigate. I think Kim is on safe ground, and it's such a pleasure to see his curiosity and his benefit from this technology.
Thank you. So we have some other questions, interesting questions, which I loved. We have someone called Sif Möller Gammelhoy. Again, I hope I pronounce it correctly. I apologize. Okay, he says an angle that I also think could be interesting to dive into within my field involving men in the dating world is not just the work-related aspect, but especially the human side of it, where more and more people are experiencing having an AI partner and what that entails in terms of challenges regarding communication and some other things. Well, Mr. Sif, I do think, congrats, because I think this is a really brilliant question. Even though it might not seem so, I do believe it is. And I will answer to this if you don't mind, guys, because it's kind of challenged me in such a way, not only because I'm a cognitive coach, but also because I'm single for a long, long, long time. So yeah, life experience, you know. So Sif, I think this particular question connects strictly to something really deeply human, which is the illusion of connection. Since we are human, all of us, right? We need connection. And from a cognitive perspective, our brains are wired to productive friction. For example, in a relationship, we have to navigate moods, disagreements, and growth. And that friction is actually what builds our emotional resilience and identity as well. So an AI partner is programmed to be perfectly agreeable, right? That means that it gives you the right affirmation all the time, constantly. It's like looking into a mirror, and that only shows you what you want to see. And from a cognitive perspective, we stop practicing the muscle of empathy because the AI never challenged us, right? Makes sense? So in the dating world, if men or anyone else rely on AI for intimacy, they risk to losing the ability to handle the beautiful, messy unpredictability of a real human being. So since we rewire ourselves to prefer perfection over presence, and that is a very lonely place to be. This is my personal answer to him. But thank you for your question. I think it was really, really cool. So the same person, Sif, also have a second question. Let me see here. He says, humans have always tried to optimize workflows, from the wheel to the calculator to the washing machine, etc. But the difference is perhaps that there isn't as much concern regarding safety when it comes to the wheel as there is with AI. Because where does the data go, and what is it used for? Very few people are afraid of their data from the vacuum cleaner being misused. Well, I think this is for Kaare.
Yes, and you're right. I mean, some data are not problematic at all. The example with the vacuum cleaner is actually quite good, and it seems that products that were not previously digital starts to being digital, and they collect data, and who knows where they are sent. I can see for my part, I've sometimes served the military. I shouldn't go into details because part of that is confidential, but I know that there is a very big interest in what cars are actually entering those areas, because there are cameras everywhere, and data is sent to servers, and where are those servers located? Currently, there is a big interest in Chinese electric cars, and it seems that they communicate with servers in China, and as it is so much connected to the state, well, it is unpredictable. So it really is a trade-off. I think part of it points back to my point about choosing the proper system, because some systems are trustworthy, some systems can be put with guardrails. You can even create your own system if you have the money for it and the resources for it. That's not always an option, but for some organizations it will be. And there are really a lot of dilemmas here, because the convenience is so tempting, but there are two sides of that coin.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So the next one will be from Jan Michael Grane. He says the first question that he asked is about market structure. Will AI centralize power on a few platforms or create new decentralized markets? And the second one is, which industry will experience the greatest structural redistribution of value? I think this is for you, Kaare. Yep, definitely. So again, he asked, will AI centralize power on a few platforms or create new decentralized markets? And the second one is, which industries will experience the greatest industrial redistribution of value?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start out from the platforms. Currently, more and more points in a direction that the big players in this market are really the big tech players that we already know. When we saw OpenAI, that was a new player in the market, but it was initially supported by Elon Musk. It was afterwards supported by Microsoft, and afterwards, as Microsoft and Google and Meta got up to speed, well, those are basically the usual suspects. We do see new players in this area, and I hope that we will see a place for new players. When we saw the new Chinese strong model, it had a price tag of 1/10 of what would usually be the price of creating a new model, because you can really learn from existing models. So I think there is still a possibility for an open market. I can also see that the French guy, Yann LeCun, who for many years was the leader of the Meta AI activities, has now created his own company located in France. So we might see new European players. So those are about the companies. Many other user suspects, some are new players, and I hope there's still room for new players.
Mm-hmm.
What was the second part of the question once again?
Which industries will experience the
Yes.
greatest structural redistribution of value?
Yeah. It seems that it starts out from, let's call it office work, really. The more digital it already is, the more it is possible to add this on top. I can see that it has changed marketing a lot. It has changed legal services a lot. It has changed some customer service segments. But little by little, as we also see humanoid robots powered by AI, and as we see AI entering other kinds of systems, I mean, even in the military industry, well, it's hard to predict what will be next. But it seems that what can be done by a computer can really be done by AI. What can be done mainly by a human being will maybe be done even better by a human being with the help of relevant tools. And those tools need not only be about AI, but of course it can be part of the package.
Thank you, Carl. So the next one, it's more related to leadership. I can see, what skills do leaders need to develop to not only implement AI, but manage its consequences? And the second one, is always related to leadership. How do you balance innovation and accountability? I think this is for Mark.
Yeah, I'll try and answer that.
So again, what skills do leaders need to develop to not only implement AI but manage its consequences? This is the first question.
I'd say one of the most important things is sort of humility, knowing what you don't know and being honest about it. I think most AI failure occurs in implementation because systems are implemented that is not fully understood. So you have to be able to say, I don't know, we have to find out. A second skill you need is what you might call consequence thinking. The ability not to just ask, does this work, but what does it actually do to the people it affects, employees, most certainly, but also customers, citizens, and communities as such. The third ability, and I'd like to use a third ability here, is because it's important. In my opinion, maybe the most important is the ability to stay in the room, to actually be present with employees, and also when you make the decisions.
So true. So I agree. The second one was, how do you balance innovation and accountability?
Yeah, I sometimes think that too much importance is put into innovation in that balance between the two, because I actually think that something like accountability can be a competitive advantage as well. So it doesn't need to be opposites. I think you need to value both sides.
Okay. The same person, Jan, asked also, he highlights the fact that it's more for a debate. He asked, companies can develop strategic dependencies on few AI vendors. I think this is for Kaare.
It is surely a theme. I mean, before this all took speed, Microsoft was already a strong player, and now Microsoft is grabbing even more systems and even more customers and even more dependency. The same goes for Google. So, I mean, during my presentation, I presented as an alternative that it is possible to actually have your own model, download it, and there are strong models for free. Install it on a relevant server, make sure that you train it for the purpose of the organization. And in some situations that will actually be the need, especially when there is a big level of confidentiality. But well, sometimes you get the convenience, sometimes you get the functionality, and the price tag will affect. So it's really, well, one factor affects the other.
Thank you. The same person has the last question. The fourth one, AI is not only changing jobs, but also how humans understand their role and value in work. I suppose this is for Thorsten.
Yeah, can I hear it once more?
Yeah, sure. So he asked, AI is not only changing jobs, but also how humans understand their role and value in work.
Yeah, Well, I don't hear the question. It's more a statement, but it's but I'm
Might be that he's or she is confused or something like that, and might need some advices or tips or whatever.
yeah, but what he's saying, I give him right. Yeah, that's right what he's saying. In this, it changes our way to work. In our free time, we can't sit there and look in the air, so we take another job and another thing, and this, and that's why it changed the work. It's changed how we are working with it every day. So we have to have a lot of free time on the payroll.
Thank you.
So yes.
We have a question for you, Thorsten, from Nikolai. There is no way that AI is going to change our cognitive ways. Is there a path that makes sense, and is it good or bad from whatever standpoint you wish?
This is yeah. I can't.
Should I read it again?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure. So, sorry. He says there is no way that AI is going to change our cognitive ways. Is there a path that makes sense, and is it good or bad from whatever standpoint you wish?
Yeah, from my standpoint is how I work with it is it's a good one because it can help us in this way. We can someone who like me have a difference to make myself clear. So in that way, my what I mean will become translated, so it gives sense to the people around. And so it's also with the cognitive abilities. But we need to have some framework in it, so that it don't take the human part of it, but teach a human how to use the human parts, if it gives sense.
Yeah, it makes sense for sure. Hopefully.
I hope it's enough for this, Nikolai. I will find out.
Yeah, they can still anyway. Guys, you can still add some comments in the comment section. No problem. If it's not.
So, in addition to this, I would invite people to dive into it, what it does to us as human. Everybody maybe write something about it, but it's very important we get that knowledge.
Thank you so very much, Thorsten. So we have an anxious keynote studio here asking a question. Thank you, by the way. He says, what happens when AI creates massive unemployment? What will people do, and how will they earn money? Well, quite interesting. Simple, but very straight to the point. I think it's very important. Guys, who wants to...
I have an answer for that. Maybe I'm not the only one, but can I go first?
Yeah, let's go for it.
At least on the short horizon, AI hasn't yet created massive unemployment. It has improved efficiency. It has mixed up some things, but it has actually also created new jobs. And at least on the short horizon, it seems that, for instance, programmers can now program more efficiently, and there is such a big need for programming, so the volume is just bigger, the price point is lower. We see the same thing for legal services. Legal services have such a high price point that many legal services are not taken into consideration in the first place. And now with the lower price point, you will actually get more. So it seems that we will basically get more. And it seems that there is such a big need for actual human hands. I see it in the healthcare sector. I see it in schools. I see it in many places where people actually meet. So I think that it will create new jobs. It will restructure existing jobs, but it doesn't seem to create unemployment. On the long horizons, it's of course hard to predict.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, I agree with the core. The science right now isn't a mass unemployment, but we also need to sort of find the balance. The employers need to find the balance in how we do things. I hope most employers will actually choose the path of restructuring jobs, as Core is pointing out, that we are looking at what jobs are humans good at and what are the machines good at, so to speak. And so maybe it won't create mass employment, but it could also be an opportunity for us to maybe work less, and that would mean that more people could actually get employed along the way. I also think we need to look at solutions like universal basic income and that sort of thing in connection to this. But it's a complex issue, and all things has to be brought into the discussion.
Yeah, I agree totally. But there is so much to say here. Like, definitely, absolutely, I agree. I have another one from the same person, Keynote Studio. So he or she says AI makes us think less. Over time, the cognitive brain weakens and the limbic system takes over, increasing anxiety. That is why I teach the limbic system. I think Thorsten might be for you.
Yeah, the limbic system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, the machines takes over the thinking of people. They every time they have something in mind. Oh, I must ask my AI what I should do, what I should do this, how to think, and but we need to slow down with it. It's go much too fast. So we outsource our thinking process to the machine, but we need to again have some framework so the machine teaches to think, not to give the thinking process to the machine, to the AI. That's what I was saying to this.
Thank you so much. We have another one for postural fit. Don't you think we will be too controlled in the future by using AI too much? Yeah, Mark.
I completely see what the person asking the question means. I think it's very much a matter of what kind of direction we choose. I think this has to do with our choice of how we want to use AI. What do we want it to do? And we have to find the balance, and as Thorsten says, find a framework for using AI. So will we be too controlled? We could be, if we let it happen. And I think the key word here is let it. We have to choose not to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have from the same postural fit another question: how we can use artificial AI in a positive way? Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it, all three of us, in our presentations, to use it to challenge us in our existing thinking. Use it to create ideas, not to make decisions, but use the technology to make us better, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Okay, we have another one from a keynote studio again. So he or she says 99% in Denmark are not really using AI. They only see it as a simple tool. We are far beyond, behind, especially compared to country like China. This is very interesting. Thank you for your question. Please, guys, the floor is yours. Yeah, Mark.
I guess I could start out. I think 99% is a very high figure for
Yeah,
that.
I think so too. Yeah.
When I'm out talking to people, I meet. It's quite rare that I meet people who doesn't have some kind of interaction.
Me too. Same here.
With these questions.
Yeah.
But it could be that on a general level we're not as engaged as a country like China. But you also have to remember there are different rules when we're talking China, and we have a much more voluntary-based system in a country like Denmark. So, but when that is said, I think you also have to say that a country like Denmark has a really good starting point. Because we're used to learning new systems, using new systems, integrating them in existing structures, and I think that is what's going to happen here as well.
Definitely. Someone else want to add something else? Yeah, Kaare?
I often have a dialogue of this kind when I do courses, and we often talk about whether we live in the right part of the world or the wrong part of the world, and it really depends, because it is true that China is using technology in much different ways than the EU. From my point of view as a Dane, I think we do it in a better way. I think we do it in a more respectful way to humans. I can see that we can miss out on efficiency, and there are pros and cons to everything. But I like the European approach. I think we also focus on the potential problems and how we will still protect human rights and personal information, and that is under pressure in many parts of the world. I mean, even in Denmark. But I hope we can keep on a good track in that aspect.
Thorsten, would you like to add something as well, or?
Yeah, I can say that most of the users or the people in Denmark I have spoken with, they see AI as cheat, as something to make fake movies about a mouse dashing a cat with a baseball bat or anything else. I don't know, the influencers make a lot of this, put it on the net, make overload of it, and we get it on our faces, and we have this. What is this? What I'm looking at, and that's you can see in that far most of the people don't know what they are holding in their hands. This power, real power, and maybe it's that a little bit of scary. The people don't know what they have in their hands. And this is not to talk down to people. It's to talk up to them. It's to show them how they can use this kind of tool to every good benefit for humankind. Not only think about the money. It's the money, always the money who makes things worse in some kind of this, and we need to get the focus on the human behind the screen who use it, so we can benefit from the AI. and maybe earn some money of it.
Yeah. Thank you so very much, Thorsten. Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, just to say that maybe it's not such a bad thing that we're using AI in a different way compared to China, for example. Maybe we need more afterthought, like Thorsten says, we need the human to be in the focus of our thinking, and then learn how to use the technology from that standpoint. I think the risk of just blindly implementing and forcing people to use AI is also what we've been talking about, this cognitive outsourcing, this losing of mental abilities that we need as humans. So maybe it's not a bad thing that Danes are a bit critical about this. And like I said, they're probably faster than most people at getting the system once we figure out how to use it.
Mm-hmm. The same person added as was again a Keynote Studio. So they say 99% use AI casually or not at all. It is only the 1% where businesses use it properly to create structure, efficiency, and real results. What do you think, guys? Yeah.
I think part of it has to do with the structure of Danish companies, because I can see that big companies in most cases work a lot on this, but Denmark does not have all that many big companies, at least not on an international scale. So it has to do a lot with really how we structure our professional market for the good and for the, well, whatever it is. I mean, there are pros and cons.
Yeah. Someone else wants to add something else? No. Okay. From the same, let's take the last one, and then we have to close here. Again, Keynote Studio. Denmark has around 300,000 businesses and nearly 6 million people. Most people are not business owners, which means over 90% are not using AI properly. That is the real gap. What do you think, guys? Yeah, Mark?
I think the question here is also what is proper use? How do you use AI properly? Because I see the point of the person asking the question, because there's definitely not enough structure. That's at least my experience in most business of how you actually use the technology. In a lot of businesses, you just get a direct order. You have to use AI, and you don't actually get any instructions on how to use it. So I agree with the fact that we don't necessarily use it properly, but that is also part, like I said, part of getting to know the technology, getting to know the proper use of it, and how do we get the best results.
Again, okay, let's help as much as we can. Keynote Studio again says you don't have to be a big company to use AI. Yes, Mark?
I agree. I think there are immense benefits for smaller companies to use AI. I use AI all the time in my business, and it helps.
Me too.
In a lot of ways, it helps.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, like the previous question, we do need to find some kind of structure, and that is something I'm working on as well, to find the most optimal way of using the systems. But great advantages to small companies, I think.
Thorsten?
Yeah, I'm a one-man business and I use it. and yeah, that's what I want to say. One-man businesses, 1,000 businesses, or in any way, we all use AI in different ways. 6 million in Denmark, 6 million ways to use AI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we kind of exceed actually quite a lot the term timeline of live event today. But before we close this session, I would like to kind of give to people as a reminder, please remember that you have to calibrate, guys, strategic integration, as we have talked throughout all this time, and cognitive resilience as well. Because if you want to have a job in the next 5 years, literally, this AI episode you will need to attend to. It will help you a lot. When you shift your thinking about AI, you can actually make 10 times the impact you normally you would, and therefore you will start to treat it as like a digital companion. Because you have more agency that you actually realize. So that's what actually I wanted to add. And if one of you, my guests, want to add something else before we close this live session, they are welcome to do so. No?
I think we covered it quite well, and I mean, the dialogue can quite likely continue both on the YouTube channel and the social media channels.
Yes, exactly. Remember, guys, that you can reach out. You have the link in the description on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. You can definitely find every detail or informations in those platforms, on those platforms. So reach out to us, no problem, and yeah, we will reply to you in no time. Thank you for attending today. Thank you so very much to all my guests and to everyone as well. Thank you, and see you on the next episode, AI and Education. Please remember to sign out, register, so you can actually receive all the updated dates and days and informations regarding the next episode, number 2, AI and Education. Thank you.